For centuries, stained glass windows have served as storybooks made of colored glass. The stories these windows depict were often of a religious nature and provide a means to reinforce stories of faith. The 4 windows hanging in the Indiana State Museum's O'Bannon Great Hall and visible from the cafe do have a story to tell. But they were created to illustrate something entirely different. One can see at a glance that the windows illustrate 4 modes of transportation, but without knowing where the windows came from, it can be difficult to interpret their meaning. The windows were originally installed in Fendrick's restaurant in the Traction Terminal Building in downtown Indianapolis. When finished in 1904, the Traction Terminal was the largest building of its kind in the world. It was the central depot for Indiana's interurban transportation system, a statewide electric railway linking larger cities to smaller towns and surrounding states. The terminal's 9 rail lines served the needs of up to 500 electric train cars each day, and at its peak, it saw 7 million passengers a year. Fendrick's was in the northeast corner of the terminal. It offered a restaurant, bar, and cafeteria where hungry passengers could find something to eat while waiting for their next connection. The windows, part of the entire design and decoration of Fendrick's, were created by muralist and glass artist J. Scott Williams. Williams designed the windows to reflect the progress of transportation by representing important historical modes of travel. On his original concept drawings, Williams writes, "Being a terminal restaurant, one naturally thinks of transportation. The old stage, the bustle of departure, a distracted mother, bundles, children, even chickens, to the big tunneled wood-burning locomotive," reminding us of Lincoln's trip through Indiana on the way to the White House. Other drawings show how Williams incorporated the building's essential structure into the stained glass work. The geometric borders surrounding the transportation figures in these windows are a direct reference to the steel girders that held up the arcade roof in the transportation shed. While Williams only worked in stained glass from 1918 to the mid-1930s, wonderfully preserved examples of his work are found in art museums and buildings from the East Coast to the Midwest, including 2 other locations in Indianapolis. By the 1920s, the automobile had gained sufficient popularity among the American people, and the rail system, including the interurban, began to decline. By 1941, the interurban terminal had been converted into a bus station, and in 1972 it was demolished altogether. Although the building was destroyed, these remarkable stained glass windows survived. 2 of the windows were purchased for the Kendall Inn restaurant, and the other 2 went to a Loeffner's cafeteria. When the Kendall Inn closed, all 4 windows were reunited at a Loeffner's cafeteria in Indianapolis until it closed in 2000. The windows were then donated by Charles Loeffner to the Indiana State Museum and Historic Sites collection. But before the windows could be put on display, they were sent out for repairs and strengthening. When the windows were first installed in a restaurant that catered to Indiana's interurban system, those who saw them easily understood their message. And that historical context is not as evident today. The windows tell the story of Indiana's early transportation industry. Now hanging in the Indiana State Museum, they shine a light back through our history while telling the story of their own travels too. As an interesting side note, through the course of their travels, these windows have always hung in restaurants.